My husband spent my birthday with his lover. Today, I stand before you not just as a woman with a broken heart, but as a voice for every person who has ever felt invisible in a relationship that was supposed to be their safe place. My story is not just about betrayal, it is about pain, realization, strength, and ultimately, self-worth. It was my birthday, a day that, for many of us, holds meaning beyond cake and candles. It is a day when we expect to feel special, remembered, and loved. I woke up that morning with a quiet hope in my heart. Not for grand surprises or expensive gifts, but for something simple, a warm smile, a thoughtful gesture, or even just a few heartfelt words from the person I had chosen to spend my life with. But as the hours passed, something felt off. He was distant, distracted. His words were few, his presence even less. Still, I tried to ignore the sinking feeling in my chest. I told myself, maybe he's planning something. Maybe he's just busy. We often convince ourselves of comforting lies when the truth feels too painful to face. By the evening, my hope had turned into confusion. And then, into something far worse. I found out the truth. While I waited for him, while I held on to the fragile belief that I mattered, my husband was somewhere else. Not alone. Not working. Not preparing a surprise. He was with another woman. His lover. Let that sink in. On the one day that symbolized my existence, my value, my presence in his life, he chose someone else. I cannot fully describe the feeling of that moment. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was a deep, crushing sense of being replaced, erased, and disrespected all at once. It felt like my entire world, everything I believed in, shattered into pieces I didn't know how to pick up. I asked myself questions that many in my position ask. Was I not enough? Did I do something wrong? Where did I lose him? But here's the truth I've come to understand, and I want everyone listening to hear this clearly. Betrayal is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their character. I spent days blaming myself, replaying memories, searching for signs I might have missed. But the reality is, no one deserves to be betrayed, especially not in such a cruel, thoughtless way. Marriage is built on trust, on respect, on commitment. And when one person chooses to break that foundation, it is not because the other person was lacking, it is because they lacked integrity. That night, I cried more than I ever had before. Not just for the love I lost, but for the version of myself that tolerated less than I deserved. I cried for the moments I ignored my instincts. For the times I chose silence over confrontation. For the love I gave so freely to someone who couldn't value it. But something changed within me as the tears fell. Pain has a way of awakening strength we didn't know we had. I realized that I had a choice. I could either let this betrayal define me, or I could rise above it and redefine myself. And I chose the second. Because I am more than someone's option. I am more than someone's afterthought. I am more than someone who gets forgotten on her own birthday. I began to see my worth, not through his eyes, but through my own. I started rebuilding myself, piece by piece. It wasn't easy. Healing never is. There were days I felt strong, and days I felt like I was falling apart all over again. But with every passing day, I learned something new about myself. I learned that my happiness should never depend on someone else's attention. I learned that love should never make you feel small, ignored, or unimportant. And most importantly, I learned that walking away from disrespect is not weakness, it is courage. To anyone listening who may be going through something similar, I want you to remember this. You deserve to be celebrated, not just on your birthday, but every day. You deserve honesty, not lies hidden behind excuses. You deserve loyalty, not betrayal disguised as mistakes. And you deserve a love that chooses you, every single time. Do not stay in a place where you are constantly questioning your value. Do not beg for the kind of love that should come naturally. And do not silence your pain just to keep a broken relationship alive. Your heart is not meant to be a battlefield. It is meant to be cherished. Today, when I think about that birthday, I no longer see it as the worst day of my life. Instead, I see it as a turning point, the day I woke up. The day I stopped settling. The day I chose myself. Because sometimes, the most painful experiences carry the most powerful lessons. That day taught me self-respect. It taught me independence. It taught me that I am strong enough to stand alone rather than stay in a relationship that diminishes me. And for that, I am grateful. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it broke me. But it also rebuilt me into someone stronger, wiser, and more aware of her own worth. So if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, feeling forgotten, betrayed, or unloved, remember this. You are not the problem. You are not the failure. And you are certainly not alone. Rise. Reclaim your power. And never allow anyone to make you feel like you are not enough. Because you are. You always have been. And you always will be.